You must be convinced that you can alter your beliefs. You must be willing to try. Think of a limiting belief as a muddy color, and your life as a multidimensional painting that is marred. You change the idea as an artist would his palette. The artist does not identify with the colors he uses. He knows he chooses them and applies them with a brush. So you paint your reality with your ideas in the same manner. You are not your ideas, nor even your thoughts. You are the self who experiences them. If a painter finds his hands stained with pigment at the end of a day, he can wash the stain off easily, knowing its nature. If you think that limiting thoughts are a portion of you, permanently attached therefore, you will not think of washing them off. You would behave instead like a mad artist who says, "My paints are a part of me, they have stained my fingers, and there is nothing I can do about it." There is no contradiction, though there may seem to be, between spontaneously being aware of your thoughts and examining them. You do not have to be blind to be spontaneous. You are not being spontaneous when you indiscriminately accept as your own, for a fact, every bit of data that comes to you. Many beliefs would automatically fall away quite harmlessly if you were being truly spontaneous. Instead, you often harbor them. Previously limiting ideas, accepted, figuratively form a restraining bed, gathering other such material so that your mind becomes filled with debris. When you are spontaneous, you accept the free nature of your mind, and it spontaneously makes decisions as to the validity or non-validity of data it receives. When you refuse to allow it this function, it becomes cluttered. No apple tree tries to grow violets. Quite automatically, it knows what it is, and the framework of its own identity and existence. You have a conscious mind, but this is only the quote-unquote topmost portion of your mind. Much more of quote-unquote it is available to you. Much more of your knowledge can be conscious therefore, but a false belief, a limiting one, is as ambiguous to your nature as an apple tree's idea that it was a violet plant. It could not produce violets, nor could it be a good apple tree while it tried to. The mistaken belief is one that does not fit with the basic conditions of your inner being. So if you believe that you are at the mercy of physical events, you entertain a false belief. If you feel that your present experience was set in circumstances beyond your control, you entertain a false belief. You had a hand in the development of your childhood environment. You chose the circumstances. This does not mean that you are at the mercy of those circumstances. It means that you set challenges to overcome, set goals to be reached, set up frameworks of experience through which you could develop, understand, and fulfill certain abilities. The creative power to form your own experience is within you now, as it has been since the time of your birth and before. You may have chosen a particular theme for this existence, a certain framework of conditions, but within these you have the freedom to experiment, create, and alter conditions and events. Each person chooses for himself the individual patterns within which he will create this personal reality. But inside these bounds are infinite varieties of actions and unlimited resources. The inner self is embarked upon an exciting endeavor in which it learns how to translate its reality into physical terms. The conscious mind is brilliantly attuned to physical reality then, and often so dazzled by what it perceives that it is tempted to think physical phenomena is a cause rather than a result. Deeper portions of the self always serve to remind you that this is not the case. When the conscious mind accepts too many false beliefs, particularly if it sees that inner self as a danger, then it closes out these constant reminders. When this situation arises, the conscious mind feels itself assailed by a reality that seems greater than itself, over which it has no control. The deep feeling of security in which it should be anchored is lost. The false beliefs must be weeded out so that the conscious mind can become aware of its source once again, and open to the inner channels of splendor and power available to it. The ego is an offshoot of the conscious mind, so to speak. The conscious mind is like a gigantic camera with the ego directing the view and the focus. Left alone, the various portions of the identity rise and form the ego, degroup and reform, all the while maintaining a marvelous spontaneity and yet a sense of oneness. Your ego is your idea of your physical image in relation to the world. Your self-image is not unconscious then. You are quite aware of it, though often you reject certain thoughts about it in favor of others. False beliefs can result in a rigid ego that insists upon using the conscious mind in one direction only, further distorting its perceptions. Often, you quite consciously decide to bury a thought or an idea that might cause you to alter your behavior, because it does not seem to fit in with the limiting ideas that you already hold. Listen to your own train of thought as you go about your days. What suggestions and ideas are you giving yourself? Realize that these will be materialized in your personal experience. Many quite limiting ideas will pass without scrutiny under the guise of goodness. You may feel quite virtuous, for example, in hating evil, or what seems to you to be evil. But if you find yourself concentrating upon either hatred or evil, you are creating it. If you are poor, you may feel quite self-righteous in your financial condition, looking with scorn upon those who are wealthy, telling yourself that money is wrong, and so reinforcing the condition of poverty. If you are ill, you may find yourself dwelling upon the misery of your condition, and bitterly envying those who are healthy, bemoaning your state, and therefore perpetuating it through your thoughts. If you dwell upon limitations, then you will meet them. You must create a new picture in your mind. It will differ from the picture your physical senses may show you at any given time, precisely in those areas where changes are required. Hatred of war will not bring peace. Another example. Only love of peace will bring about those conditions. I quite realize that many of my statements will contradict the beliefs of those of you who accept the idea that the conscious mind is relatively powerless, and that the answers to problems lie hidden beneath. Obviously, the conscious mind is a phenomenon, not a thing. It is ever-changing. It can be concentrated or turned by the ego in literally endless directions. It can view outward reality or turn inward, observing its own contents. There are gradations and fluctuations within its activity. It is far more flexible than you give it credit for. The ego can use the conscious mind almost entirely as a way of perceiving external or internal realities that coincide with its own beliefs. It is not that certain answers do not lie openly accessible, therefore, but that often you have set yourself on a course of action in which you believe, and you do not want to open yourself to any material that may contradict your current beliefs. If you are sick, for example, there is a reason. To recover thoroughly without taking on new symptoms, you must discover the reason. You may dislike your illness, but it is a course you have decided upon. While you are convinced that the course is necessary, you will keep the symptoms. Now, these may be the result of one specific belief, or caused by a complex of beliefs held together. The beliefs, of course, will be accepted by you not as beliefs, but as reality. Once you understand that you form your reality, then you must begin to examine these beliefs by letting the conscious mind freely examine its own contents. We will speak about health and illness more specifically later in the book. I would like to make one point here, however, that often psychoanalysis is simply a game of hide and seek, in which you continue to relinquish responsibility for your actions and reality and assign the basic cause to some area of the psyche, hidden in a dark forest of the past. Then you give yourself the task of finding this secret. In so doing, you never think of looking for it in the conscious mind, since you are convinced that all deep answers lie far beneath, and, moreover, that your consciousness is not only unable to help you, but will often send up camouflages instead. So you play that game. When and if you manage to change your beliefs in that self-deceptive framework, then any suitable quote-unquote forgotten event from the past will be used as a catalyst. One would do as well as another. The basic beliefs, however, were always in your conscious mind, and the reasons for your behavior. You simply had not examined its contents with the realization that your beliefs were not necessarily reality, but often your conceptions of it. At the same time, in psychoanalysis you are often programmed to believe that the quote-unquote unconscious, being the source of such dark secrets, cannot be counted upon as any bed of creativity or inspiration, and so you are denied the help that the inner portions of the self could give to your consciousness. Usually, when you do examine your conscious mind, you do so looking through or with your own structured beliefs. The knowledge that your beliefs are not necessarily reality will allow you to be aware of all the data that is consciously available to you. I am not telling you to examine your thoughts so frequently and with such vigor that you get in your own way, but you are not fully conscious unless you are aware of the contents of your conscious mind. I am also emphasizing the fact that the conscious mind is equipped to receive information from the inner self as well as the exterior universe. I am not telling you to inhibit thoughts or feelings. I am asking that you become aware of those you have. Realize that they form your reality. Concentrate upon those that give you the results that you want. If you find all of this difficult, you can also examine your physical reality in all of its aspects. Realize that your physical experience and environment is the materialization of your beliefs. If you find great exuberance, health, effective work, abundance, smiles on the faces of those you meet, then take it for granted that your beliefs are beneficial. If you see a world that is good, people that like you, take it for granted again that your beliefs are beneficial. But if you find poor health, a lack of meaningful work, a lack of abundance, a world of sorrow and evil, then assume that your beliefs are faulty and begin examining them. We will later discuss the nature of mass reality, but for now we are dwelling upon the personal aspects. The main point I wanted to make in this chapter was that your conscious beliefs are extremely important and that you are not at the mercy of events or causes that dwell far beneath your awareness. That is the end of the chapter.